What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to the Department of Hoops pregame show. This is for Warriors at Wizards on Monday, November 4th at 7:15 p.m. Again, if you're planning to go to the game, it's at 7:15 p.m. Not a traditional start time for most Wizards games. Usually they're like 7 or 7:30. So just throwing that out there for you in case those 15 minutes make a difference. But they are home again. So Wizards, a lot of home games early in the year here, which is kind of cool and good for a young team to try to get acclimated. As always, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas. Honestly, I don't think half the Wizards are old enough to drink yet, but if they are, should see if we can share a couple with them because they deserve a couple celebratory drinks for just how hard they've played so far. Also brought to you by BetOnline. It's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to live in-game betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds from everything from football, NBA, NHL, to entertainment, political props. Head to BetOnline today and get in the action with the world's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So just kind of catching you guys up on everything. The Warriors right now, if nobody listening to this has followed them, are actually good. And I think that's kind of surprising to a lot of, NBA pundits across the league who predicted them to be kind of like, on the way out. But they're 5-1 so far, tied for, I want to say, the second best record in the Western Conference, which is great. I mean, it's cool to me when the Warriors are good because Steph is such a show and so exciting. But there's obviously some storylines here that we want to talk about, and that's the matchup. The revenge game potential for Jordan Poole. He's been really good so far this season. I would just love for him personally to have a good game against this particular team, and he's been really good about supporting his younger teammates. I think this is one where all of the other Wizards should be rallying together to help support him in this particular game and make sure that he kind of has a show or puts on a show because I think that'd be a big confidence boost for him is just sort of a get back, get right game against, his former teammates. And I'm sure he still likes a lot of those guys. Steph, I feel like, said mostly nice things. Maybe the Jordan Poole fans listening to this will remember differently. So you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I thought Steph was decent about it. But obviously Draymond is still there. And, just the dude is a goofball. So I think being able to just kind of have the one-upmanship of taking him out and giving them a loss would be cool for Poole. So would love to see that. So far this year for the Warriors, Steph Curry only played 3 games, but he's averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, and just under 7 assists. He is shooting 41% from 3, but they've been really good in the games he's played. He's only needed to play 26 minutes so far per game, which is, I would have thought if the Warriors were 4 or 5-1, and because, Steph's playing 40 minutes a game, but Buddy Hield has really stepped in and kind of become the other splash brother this season. He's shooting incredibly well from 3. He's 22 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game. He's only started 1 of their 6 games, which is like kind of crazy to me. But the dude is shooting 51% from 3 right now on almost 10 attempts per game. That obviously won't keep up, but that's been the story for them. Like guys that were supposed to be their designated shooters, like Brandon Pajemski, he's shooting sub 20% from the field. Sorry, from 3 on 5 attempts per game. Once those start going in for him, his 10 points per game will go up as well. He's doing everything else for them, though. 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Like, not saying Pajemski's not been good, but like, he's a sniper, and he's not shooting particularly well this season. Once those start going in, pretty crazy. Even Draymond is shooting 47% from 3, only on 2.5 attempts per game, but that's enough that teams will have to, pay attention to him at the very least. Andrew Wiggins is shooting 57% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. Kuminga not shooting so great, but he's not taking a lot of them. Only 2.5 attempts per game. He's shooting 25%. That needs to be better for them, just point blank. Moses Moody averaging 11 points per game for them, shooting 52% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. So this is a 3-point shooting team right now. They're 40% as a team. That's been sort of the Achilles heel for the Wizards. Obviously, anyone who watched that Miami Heat game knows, especially like that did not work out super well. The Wizards as a team are shooting under 34%. So that 6 percentage point difference between the two teams is pretty big. And I think a lot of other areas on the court, the Wizards actually match up, pretty well with this Warriors team. Like they're not going to be thrown off by the Warriors pace. And actually the Warriors are maybe like a little slower this year than past years. They're 14th in the NBA in pace, whereas the Wizards are 2nd. So that's going to be interesting to see. But the Warriors are 4th in offensive rating and 2nd in defensive rating. So they're just kind of killing it on both ends of the ball. Whereas the Wizards are 23rd in offensive rating and 26th in defensive rating, which is a little surprising to me. I'll be honest with you. I thought the Wizards would be a little higher on the defensive end than they were on the offensive end. But I guess just when you've been technically kind of, blown out by 3 teams of your 5 games, it's going to hurt that, that rating. Their net rating is minus 8.4, which is 27th in the league. And the Warriors are plus 18, basically, which is first in the NBA in net rating. So they're just off to a great start. Their last game was just an incredible comeback win against the Houston Rockets, 127-121. They've won 3 in a row. This is a hot team. And we've talked about the Wizards having some early tests. Like Boston, obviously the defending champ, really, really good. Cleveland could be the second best team in the East, really, really good. And Miami, maybe not as good on paper, but DJ and I talked about this in the pregame show. Like that's a veteran, well-coached, physical team. And that's a tough test for the rookie. So again, this is another team. It's a bunch of savvy veteran guys. They're going to spread the floor out. So you're going to get picked on if there are a lot of defensive lapses. So if you're the Wizards, like you've got to be really like locked in on who needs to be where and what to do to have any kind of chance at winning this particular game. So interesting to pay attention to. I mentioned just sort of some of the guys on the Warriors are doing well, but Andrew Wiggins having a resurgent year so far, averaging about 19 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Jonathan Kuminga, while not shooting particularly well, still averaging 13 points, about 4 rebounds, and assist and a half. Draymond averaging 7, 5, and 4, just kind of doing, Draymond things, triple nickel kind of stuff. Almost, not even that quite, but they're just really deep. Moses Moody's having a good year so far. Trace Jackson Davis, the pick that the Wizards gave him, looking pretty good. D'Anthony Melton does things for them on both ends of the floor. Kyle Anderson, just a solid vet they can count on for 15, 16 minutes a game. Kevon Looney, same thing. Lindy Waters III is having a good season for them so far. I'm still not convinced that's a real person because I've never actually seen him on the court. Shout out to my guy, Kevin Broom, for convincing me that he does exist, but I still don't believe you. So yeah, they've got dudes. They've just got depth kind of across the board here. So be interesting to see what that looks like for the Wizards, who kind of aren't really the deepest team here necessarily. Like they're considerably worse when certain guys come in off the bench. So it'll be a test, and that's going to be fun to see. I think the Wizards, if you're going to have any chance to be competitive in this game, you have to shoot way better. Like that's just point blank the end of the story here. You can't get doubled up from 3-point percentage like they were in that Heat game. So shots have to start falling at some point. These guys are better shooters than their percentages, thus far would indicate. We had some talk on the post-game show about should we be worried about Keyshawn George's shooting percentage from 3, especially so far this year. I'm not worried yet, but it's got to go in. You're a certified sniper. Mr. Corey Kispert is shooting 28% from 3 so far this year. Kyle Kuzma in the 3 games he played is below 28% from 3. That's not going to get it done. Bub Carrington shooting 35% on 3.5 attempts, which is really good. Keyshawn George, 4.5 attempts per game, is at 9% from 3. So that's obviously not ideal. Alex Sarr taking 5 attempts per game, which is one of the leaders on the team, is at 24%. So these guys that are putting them up, like a few of them got to start to drop here at some point. Jordan Poole is carrying the team basically at 51% from 3. And Bilal Coulibaly is actually pretty close behind him at 48-ish%, a little under 48%. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really curious to see who Bilal matches up with in this particular game. Is it Steph? Do you try to shut him down? That's an interesting one. Is it somebody athletic like Kuminga or Wiggins just to offset some of their athleticism? Because if he doesn't guard them, I don't know who stays with them athletically. Maybe Keyshawn can slow one of those 2 guys down. But yeah, I think if you can turn the water off for Steph, this team has a lot more options this year. So it's not just as straightforward as, slow down Steph and you got a good chance to win. Somebody has to stop Buddy Hield. So this needs to be another, solid defensive performance from Jordan Poole and Bub Carrington in the backcourt there to just really give them a chance. So we'll see what that looks like. This is one where, again, the Warriors not crazy good in pace so far at only 14th in the league, but I think of them as a fast-playing team, and I would imagine in this particular matchup, it's going to be a bit of a track meet. So to me, this is not the Jonas Valanciunas game, but maybe you put him in there just to give them a different look and maybe try to slow things down, in stretches just to make Draymond have to guard somebody in the post. I don't know. Maybe you can hide Valanciunas defensively a little bit better on someone like Draymond because you just don't think he's going to beat you from 3, although the percentage is a little better this year. So going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I keep saying interesting. I guess it'll be interesting. This is going to be a fun one for for us to see what Brian Keefe is really about, because the scheme is so important, and just the like go out and let the young guys play thing is obviously great, but it's time to start evaluating like what he does as a coach too, and whether the team wants to tank or deconstruct or whatever their term is. You still want to see things from Brian Keefe that make the team more successful against these better teams, and it's fine for us as fans given where they are, but is it going to fly if every time they play a playoff team they get beat by 20 plus points? We'll see. And at some point you want to see him make some counters and some adjustments just to know that he's the guy. Like his lone positive attribute can't be, yeah, I'll give the young guys tons of minutes. Like that's fine and that's enough for right now, but you're also evaluating for him for the future. And as his first full season as head coach, like this is a learning and growing opportunity for him too. So I want to see more, and it's a relatively new staff. I mean, David Vanderpool is obviously a very seasoned NBA assistant coach, but Brian Randall, moving up the ladder here. TJ Sorrentine coming in from college. Alexia Jinsa being promoted from the Capital City Go-Go. Like, there's some opportunities here for them to show that, like, hey, this staff has some things to it and some wrinkles that they could bring in. So I'm looking forward to see, how they go about going into this game. Right now, if you're the Wizards, I would imagine the starting five is probably the same. We haven't heard yet, as I'm recording this on Sunday, if Kyle Kuzma will be back in the mix. I would imagine not at this point. So I would think, again, your most likely Wizards starting lineup is Jordan Poole, Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, and Alex Sarr. And for Golden State, this last game, Steph Curry didn't play. So they played Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Trace Jackson Davis. Kind of a weird thing. I need to see what's up with Curry, if he'll be back in this game or not. But that obviously changes some things. And one less, Hall of Fame level player to have to guard definitely makes them easier, let's say, but still a dangerous group. And this might be the most interesting, I'm gonna keep saying that apparently, test for the Wizards so far this season. Just see where they're at, what they're about, and where to go from there. But it is an ankle injury for Steph Curry. Apparently, he is listed as game to game at the moment. So I don't know that the 5-1 team is necessarily going to rush him back onto the floor. I guess he was questionable for Saturday's game for them. So, there is a chance that by Monday night, he's ready to go. He's trending toward a potential return, the Athletics' Anthony Slater says. So I would expect to see Steph, and maybe they try him and they just see how it goes. And depending on the outcome of the game, maybe they don't even need to play him a full amount of game. But he went through his normal full pregame shooting routine on Saturday against Houston. So the fact that he was kind of a late scratch leads me to believe that just with another 2 days, there's a pretty good chance that we see Steph Curry out there, which is fun for Wizards fans too. And, people that sell their season tickets, I guess, it's a good opportunity to recoup some value during that stretch as well here. Kind of really it, I think, in terms of things to talk about for this particular game for the Wizards. Just a programming note here. I mentioned this on the post-game show the other night. I am going to be out of country and in a much different time zone. So I don't know that I'll be able to do any of these next week. So we'll have some folks filling in. Probably going to be Eli Cohen, intern for Department of Hoops this season, doing some of these pregame shows with maybe some other familiar faces mixing in here as well. And then you may not get post-game shows for the week. Apologies for that. I know we said we get all 82 games, but life comes first here. So we're making the best of it as we go. And hopefully there's just some fun things to talk about. And when I get back, we can, Jihadi and I can recap the whole thing or whatever the case may be. So not saying you won't get any of them during the course of the week here, but maybe a little less consistent than normal. So appreciate you all for bearing with us. Please hit that like button for us if you're watching on YouTube. Rate, review, subscribe. It's always appreciated. Trying to get this channel up over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So appreciate anybody who's listening to this on audio, still subscribing over there. That really helps us out too. Once you get over 1,000 subscribers, it starts to make your channel even more discoverable. So help us, help other Wizards fans just have a community and cathartic, decompression experience after some of these games. Again, always appreciate you all. Have a good week of Wizards basketball, and I will catch you guys when we get back. As always, we're presented by betonline.ag.